I think that we will work even harder because not getting out of the group stage will be as bad as not getting to the Worlds. So we will try our best to get out of the group stage and then getting to the Staples Center.
Season 3 World Championships live from Los Angeles, California. We are just minutes away from the showdown between Gambit and Ozone. But first, I'd like to welcome Vulcan's top laner. It is Psycho Sid joining me in the interview lounge. How's it to be here in the World Finals?
I mean, it still probably hasn't really hit us yet. Like, it's just last season we started out the season 0-5, our last split, and now we're top 3 in NA, and it's just, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, let's talk about your first game straight away because you came up against Fnatic. You know, everyone was putting you down as it was either you or Fnatic or Gambit. They're going to finish second in the group. Everybody's insisting Ozone are going to top that group. How did that first game go against Fnatic? Because from here, it looked easy.
Well, honestly, before the game, in my opinion, I thought it was going to be like either way, whether like one team could stomp the other, but it wasn't the easiest game. Even though it looked kind of easy from my perspective, I was the guy who just queued minions the entire game. My score was 0-2-2, which isn't very impressive at all, but I did a lot more than people think. You know, I soaked a lot of damage. That I still can't get out of my head, that bottom push where I just saw I was just pinging that bush in the middle of the bot lane, and I was like, oh, like they're just going to be here. And they four-manned me.
They four-manned you, yeah. But I mean, that was just it. You were on Nasus, you were left to farm. It just seemed so easy for you. You just had no pressure on you at all, really.
Yeah, like even though I was 0-2-2, I was probably one of the more farmed people in that game. And like Nasus is always a late-game threat. They had Lysandra and York as their solo, so like overall they didn't really have too much damage to just take me down. So they sent 4.
So let's move on to the less exciting match for you guys, I guess. The Ozone match. It was certainly a lively performance. It started off very well for you, but how did it all go wrong?
They're just a really good team. Like if you give them any sort of like way to come back, they can just snowball it on you, and that's exactly what happened. Like after the game, we were all wondering like how far ahead we were, and someone said 5,000, and I was like, oh my god. And then people just started getting caught, one after another, like myself included. And just because of that, like pick after pick, we just like started walking around with like our heads chopped off. Like we weren't really thinking, just mindlessly. Yeah,
it was definitely running into it. But you yourself, you were up against Looper in that top lane, which the analysis desk have been singing the praises. He's a new guy coming into the team. That was his first tournament match. I don't know how that feels for you, but he was pretty good. How was it to play against him?
Well, the lane in general was just Shen versus Singe, which was like a trade farm and occasionally just fling and try to like poison you. But I mean, it wasn't the most exciting lane, but I did learn a lot. Like just him being able to start a Dorn's ring and getting out of the laning phase. Like had we 1-2 them, the game would have been different. But overall, it's like just going against another really good player is just an honor.
Well, I mean, Looper was changed in for Homme, and you guys obviously would have researched that. That was because of the 3.11 changes. How do you feel 3.11's gone for you as a team? I mean, and certainly yourself as a top laner, because the top lane's been quite affected by it.
Well, like to be honest, going into the 3.11 patch, it was pretty rocky. Like, for example, Smithy wasn't exactly that comfortable on Vi, but now he like stepped up his game, and yeah, my champion pool has been hit a bit, and just like as a team, we had like a slump where a couple days, like 1 week, we just literally went 0 and like whatever number against like C9 and TSM. So it just took a while for us to get back in our groove.
Well, overall, obviously, we've seen all 5 teams playing in your group now. How do you feel you balance up against the rest of the teams in that group? You got a double round robin ahead of you, another 6 games to go. Do you think you're going to qualify?
I mean, we certainly hope to qualify. Like we're pretty confident about it. Like despite our loss against Ozone, like as I said in another interview before. That one throw was just counted as 1 strike. If we get like 2 more strikes, we're out. But I mean, we go in feeling really great. Like especially after the win against Fnatic, it was pretty clean. Where I felt like I didn't do as much as I could have. My team carried me, and I was just happy about that. And hopefully they could carry me some more.
Well, thank you very much, Sid. So we will be going across back to the action. But first of all, we're going to get back over to Riv and the guys at the analysis desk.
Fail.
Let's see what these guys have coming in. Samsung Galaxy, and we have Gambit coming into this matchup. Mani, I know this is one you've been waiting for. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think Gambit played well in their first match, but they are going to have to step it up a lot against Ozone, and it'll be interesting. I'm curious as to what the bans are going to be, because we talked about that earlier, and it is extremely dangerous to let Mata have Thresh, but then you put yourself in a position where maybe Dandy gets Lee Sin, and he is incredible on Lee Sin, or you don't have as many bans for powerful champs in mid against dade too. So who is Gambit going to try and shut down?
You know, I feel okay about Alex in mid there, but the weak point here for me is Darien. I feel like Darien could get on tilt from Dandy just ganking him a couple times early, and that's what scares me for Gambit. Other than that, I have faith in the Russian boot camp.
I'm just looking forward, or not forward, to see the bot lane evolving. I think Genja and Voidle will not have what it takes to go up against Impemata.
At the same time, while their bot lane might win, I think dade is going to have a big trouble against Alex Ich. Alex Ich is he's really strong, and I feel like I've said before, the EU metagame for mid is so far ahead of the other regions, and dade hasn't had the best tournament so far. So I think he's going to have some trouble.
And Monty, a big focus for you comes out of the jungle for these games. Dandy came in at 3-1-17 as Jarvan in their win versus Vulcan. How do you think that matches up against Diamond?
I mean, I honestly don't know what we're going to be seeing from Diamond here. Obviously, I picked him as my player to watch, so I'm curious as to how his performance is going to be. He is a clutch player, but so is Dandy. And what's so interesting about this is both Dandy and Diamondprox really get into the heads of the enemy junglers a lot of the time. They're very good at predicting those routes and getting in, counter jungling, being in places at surprising times. So it's a pretty good mind game going in, I think.
Yeah, that's why I really enjoy jungling specifically. It's more like, like they say in poker, you play the person rather than play the cards. I think that's going to be especially true in this matchup. And whoever gets more vision down early will probably be the one with the upper hand. So I think deep wards is what we'll be looking for.
We might actually see a Jarvan ban coming out, because I think Diamondprox really dislikes the champion.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I'm not sure, but I wonder if Lee Sin is going to be contested, if Diamondprox is going to say, well, you played Lee Sin, well, let me show you how it's done in Europe.
Well, Dandy has some other good champions, though, like Elise as well. He's had some extremely impressive performances on.
I'm super interested in seeing Looper, who's has zero competitive experience, versus Darien, who has 2.5 years of competitive experience.
Hey, he doesn't have zero competitive experience anymore. He's got one game.
He
And he won that game.
He has
He's
100% win rate.
He's now undefeated, Double.
Stats don't lie, just like you said.
And let's talk about that for a second. How would you guys feel if your first game was at Worlds for a tournament play?
I'd be nervous.
And I pulled off that teleport there to cut off Pekka.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good.
He played so well in the first game. I would be so excited, and I would be the adrenaline would just be going through. You'd be like, oh my god, I'm gonna make these hyphy plays for this next game. I think it can get to his head negatively as much as it can affect him positively, because I know sometimes I get so excited that I just make a stupid decision and I just die.
You have to remember, he's really hard to read. We have no research on him. What does he play?
Yeah, the other thing too is
Singed?
where you're talking about Darien going on tilt, and maybe Dandy will come up there and get some nice ganks off. Well, Dandy has great synergy up there for ganks for Homme, but we don't know what that synergy between Looper and Dandy is, and to what extent they can read each other when those ganks come in. And so it's kind of a question mark. And Dandy spent a lot of time in the bot lane that last game. So
Are we actually going to see a Singed ban come out, or are we going to see Shen open? I'm actually wondering, if they have Singed as an answer, are they going to give Darien Shen? Because Darien is notoriously really good on Shen and has a really high win rate with Gambit. So I'm actually wondering what's going to happen on that.
Well, Monty, you were saying that if Ozone ever sees a Singed or whatnot, Shen comes out. So that's something they...
Well, this is the first time Homme didn't play Singed, but generally speaking in Korea, when there's a Shen that pops up, it's pretty much usually countered by that Singed pick. SK Telecom is especially famous for using that, because Impact loves that dirty farming on Singed. So
coming into this next matchup, obviously we talked about everything but the mid lane, Alex Ich versus dade. Kobe, how do you see these guys matching up with, the fearsomeness that they both bring to middle lane?
Like I said, I definitely have faith in Alex in this one, and I know Double Lift does too.
I don't want to talk trash or anything. Actually, I do.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it straight up. Dade is so
Don't fake
overrated,
yourself out.
dude. He's so overrated. This guy has a small champion pool. He got crushed by Cloud. I don't know, dude. I'm shaking my head. I've always said he's only good on Zed.
No, it's interesting, though, because he was the MVP of Champion Spring, but I feel as well that he's fallen off significantly since then, and he also is very vulnerable to going on tilt.
Does this guy even play AP carries? I've seen him play Zed.
He plays TF.
And, okay, he plays like TF. That's kind of an AP carry. And Ryze. That like barely counts. And then Ezreal. Those are the 4 champions I see him play most.
But is your criteria for being overrated when Mancloud wins against you? Because that's not a very nice thing to say.
No. I'm not saying that. I just think when Dade is hailed as like, oh my god, he's like super. He's like, people have told me before, especially like, I think Jat told me this, that when Dade loses, there's no way MVP Ozone can win. I think it's their bot lane that carries that team, not Dade.
And how do you feel about the bot lane matchup with them going against Genja and Voidle?
Oh, there's no chance, dude. I got my money on Imp for sure.
It's going to be a battle to get the Kogi first, but then again, he plays a really good Caitlyn. I don't know what Genja's going to bring, maybe, but you can never count out Genja. Maybe he will find out like a really weird like 5-door strategy that somehow is going to work. Like you can never count out Genja.
That's Genja's strategy sheet. It's just a sheet filled with pictures of Doran's blades.
Or he just like takes like a little board and you start throwing darts and he just picks whatever. Like you never know.
All right, guys. Well, we can analyze forever, but let's see it for ourselves. We're going to send it over to Jat and Joe for the play-by-play of our final game of the day. Take it away, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot, Riv. It is time for our 10th match of the day and the 5th battle in Group B as Europe's Gambit takes on Korea's Samsung Galaxy Ozone. So let's get straight into it and check out the starting lineup. Starting with the blue side and the Russians of Gambit Game. And I say Russians, it's obviously 4 Russians plus 1 now with Voidle from Estonia. And they are, of course, Darien in the top lane, Diamond in the jungle, Alexic in the mid lane, Genja the AD carry, and Voidle as support.
Of course, on the red side, it is Samsung Galaxy Ozone with the new guy Looper in the top lane, Dandy in the jungle, Dade in mid lane, Imp, the famous AD carry, and Mata on support.
And I have to talk about, or we have to talk about Jack, more importantly. Looper, again, we heard it a lot there from the analysis desk, but how good was his opening game for them? I mean, thrown in the deep end with sharks and everything in there, I think is what you can compare that to. Into the World Championship, your first ever competitive game. Incredible.
And while it's so nerve-wracking to play that, we also have to keep in mind, I think, the confidence his team has in him, because they brought him over as a sub with the chance that he would be used over Homme in the top lane. And I think during their practice that they played, it had to be, they all just felt like he gave them the superior chance to win today. They're running him now for the 2nd game in a row, and I almost feel like because the synergy hasn't had time to develop between Dandy and Looper, he is going to play those champions that you can completely leave alone. So stuff like Singed will be very popular. Maybe even his Kennen. Both of those things I hear are beast for him.
So let's have a look then. Gambit already got their 3 bans out there. Caitlyn, Lee Sin, Thresh banned out. On the other side, Aatrox, Zed, and that ever so popular Corki from today.
Yeah, we heard the sighs from the crowd as Lee Sin got banned because we're not going to see the Diamondprox Dandy battle for the blind monk there. But of course, if Shen's available at first pick, Gambit is going to take it.
Yep.
That's just the way Gambit plays.
Or Shyvana, possibly. Let's not just get carried away too much on this one.
Yeah, if this was not the World Championships right now, and if I'd be like, man, maybe we're going to see a top lane Shyvana from Looper. Maybe he's just going to try to blow everyone's minds right now because we've seen a little bit of top lane Shyvana, but they haven't locked it in yet. I almost feel like they're doing that just to mess with us. Vayne is available for Imp, though.
That is
Why did we not realize that?
Yeah, that is a big one. Vayne coming straight through from this one. It will be locked in there with that Zyra for Mata as well. And we saw it in Samsung Galaxy Ozone's first game how incredible this bottom lane is and the synergy between these two players, how good they are together.
They destroyed the Vulcan bottom lane.
Yeah.
And Imp's Vayne, I need to point out one thing to watch for right now, because when I watch him play Vayne, I notice he does this better than anyone I've ever seen, is his movement within team fights is just, he covers more ground than anyone else. He will start a team fight well in the back, and by the end of the team fight, he will be in front of the tanks. He spends a little bit of time in between auto attacks when necessary to gain that little bit of extra distance. He's the one who popularized the Blade of the Ruined King to Phantom Dancer Vayne build, and he just abuses the speed of Vayne to move in team fights. Really watch for that because it's incredibly impressive.
Well, it's going to be something to behold, that's for sure. On the other side, Gambit, they've got a few options open to them as well here. Orianna not banned out this time, and of course that Sona that Gambit absolutely loved to death, to be honest. I mean, we saw it throughout their 3 supports that they've really had over the last few years. Obviously, Edward, Darker, and now Voidle. Gambit love having a Sona in the team.
Get that crescendo whenever they want it right here. And of course, the Ahri has been picked by so many people. Alex, he likes the Assassins right here. And I do actually wonder, to Doublelift's point, what they're going to be going with in the mid lane. I think they could just go for Ryze again. They were comfortable with that matchup against Vulcan in their victory, and they could actually get a fairly similar composition to what they already have. They'd have the Shen matchup and the Singed matchup.
Well, things moving very quickly in this one. On the other side, Evelyn locked in here.
Boom.
For Diamond in the jungle. A jungler that's so widely respected throughout the entire world. You hear interviews, doesn't matter whether it's an interview from China or out of Korea or Southeast Asia or from North America, from South America, you know, everyone looks towards Diamond. Can he do it here, though? Because this is a big game for Gambit in the grand scheme of this group stage.
It is huge. I mean, this is the team that everyone is competing with first and foremost, because sure, a lot of these guys actually feel like they're competing for second place. If you can take a game off of Ozone right now, who is favored to come out of the group, it just gives you so much momentum as you move through. Kog'Maw and Eve. See, this is actually where Vulcan's comp failed and where right now Gambit is not. Because Samsung Galaxy Ozone has that Singed and the potential to pick something like Ryze, it's a lot of persistent damage that Samsung Ozone had, and Vulcan didn't have enough damage at the time when they ran the Ahri with the Shen. But because Gambit has loaded so much damage into the 80 carry of Kog'Maw and the Eve jungle for Diamondprox, they can actually match this damage in teamfights if they don't fall behind. This is going to be an incredibly interesting game, Joe.
Well, we saw the final pick there for Ozone. Was that Ryze? And we saw him in game number 1 of the group stage versus Vulcan in that mid lane with dade. And it worked out for them in the end. And he's going to bring that one back in. And as you said, a very similar composition for Ozone here as they had in their first game as well. Not wanting to change too much.
Yeah, it worked for them in the first game, having the Singed with the Ryze. But of course, if Vayne is available for Imp, he's going to take it.
Yeah.
I think in the grand scheme of this game, if we look at the laning phase, Samsung Galaxy Ozone isn't actually going to be that strong right off the bat. We know that Ryze loses to Ahri early before he can pick up his items. Singed is not necessarily crazy until he gets his ultimate, and Vayne doesn't necessarily have an amazing laning phase. Against Kog'Maw, I think he can get by just based off the amount of skill that the Samsung Galaxy Ozone bottom lane can pull out. This is a hype game right now.
Yeah, and it's our final game of the day, so I expect you guys here in the crowd to be extra hyped for this one. Let's have a look at what you guys at home think of this the final game of our first day here. I'll get that one out there. And according to lollysports.com, it's a real close one. 56% of you believe that the analysts are all wrong, and Gambit is going to pull out this one. Wow.
So the power of the bootcamping Gambit gaming, they were so strong throughout Season 2, and they had to travel so much during the European LCS. They hardly had time to practice, and even with all of that, with maybe one practice day a week, they placed second in the spring split, and then third in the summer split. But now they have had more practice time than they've had at any point since, I gotta say, Season 2, and they were the powerhouses then.
Well, if Gambit are going to turn up and play for any game, it's usually against the biggest teams in the world, and you could certainly say that Samsung Galaxy Ozone are one of them. So here we go then, in-game Gambit versus Ozone, our final game of the day. These two teams obviously playing their second game in Group B. They currently sit at 1-0, both of them. The winner of this one, therefore, will go top of the table going into tomorrow's action.
I think the big breaking point in this game is the bottom lane, especially if they lane against each other. Only because Imp and Mata had such incredible success against Vulcan's bottom lane, and in Gambit's victory today against Mineski, Genja and Voidle actually gave up first blood to Mineski's bottom lane. It has been a sore spot for Gambit all throughout the summer split, trying to get that bottom lane synergy back ever since Genja and Edward have been broken up as that pair, with Edward heading over to the North American LCS. It's what has to work for Gambit if they want to win this game against Ozone.
And this is a very traditional Gambit lineup, I'd say. I mean, Kog'Maw Sona, that's a Gambit lane if I've ever seen one coming out of Europe, that's for sure. Darien, we heard Crepo say he's a fantastic Shen player, and you've always got to be very, very careful what he brings to the table. On the other side, though, we saw how comfortable Looper is with his Singe, doing ridiculous things, teleporting all over the place and catching people out. We'll see if he can bring the same to the table here, because Gambit are a team that if you throw them a curveball, they still are able to catch it most of the time.
Yeah, and Looper, just to touch on his Singed a little bit, has went with ability power quintessences and a Doran's Ring start. So he's actually starting the game with 30 AP on Singed right now. Definitely looking to do a little bit of damage along with his farming. And just based off of where the junglers are starting right now, we're going to see that 2v2 matchup in the bottom lane. The All-Stars, really. I mean, not really All-Stars of Korea, but Imp and Mata. We've talked them up a lot on the analyst desk.
We have, and for good reason. And I think we'll be seeing more of that in this game. They're not a bottom lane that you expect to come into a game looking a little bit off, especially with Imp on that vein. But Genja, very, very experienced AD carry. Same can't really be said for Voidle. He's at the time in the LCS. Will he be able to perform here against one of the best teams in the world?
And Gambit has been happy with Voidle. It's just he hasn't really, to me, seemed like he's meshed entirely with the Gambit roster. Only in the playoffs did it seem like their synergy was coming back a little bit. And in the last week of the European LCS, that's when Genja was actually defaulting to his older AD carries, like Misfortune and even Kog'Maw. Immediately, the aggression comes out in the bottom lane, though.
And we can see both Imp and Voidle going very low from that one in the end, deciding not to follow things through. This mid lane, going to be Gambit's Alexich here on Ahri taking on Dade on Ryze.
This is the second time in a row Dade has had this Ahri versus Ryze matchup. Dade died early on to ManCloud's Ahri, actually giving up a level 5 kill, but then he came back later in the game and started to dominate in that matchup. Darien just wanted to ignite somebody.
Try and force Looper a little bit out of that lane. Looper's not going to be forced out of any lanes by the looks of things here, though. And that, of course, is our top lane matchup. Looper, in their first game earlier on in the day against Vulcan, looked pretty unstoppable with that Singe. Actually, Dandy did just come and visit that top lane to see if they could get in for anything. He's still hanging around there. Darien, will he get caught out? He will actually get caught out from this one. Knockup not quite landing onto him. So very close, though.
They're still trying to harass Darien down a fair bit. And this actually should give Diamond a little bit of time to roam around and maybe try and find something. This could very well create a collision course between Diamond and Dandy, as Diamond is just kind of looking for things to do. Now they decide to back away into their respective junglers.
So we've heard before, if we think back to some of the broadcasts from Champion Summer, how good Matter is here, you know, in terms of his ward positioning. And that could be even more important this game with that Evelyn on the field here for Gambit. If you get vision of an Evelyn and stop her being impactful, it's very hard to get that game going with her.
Yeah, pink ward control is absolutely paramount, and it shouldn't be that big of an adjustment for Ozone, even when there's not a stealth jungler in the game. They typically control the map with pink wards. It just becomes even more important. They should be buying more of those throughout the game. I'm actually expecting Dade and Dandy on their first backs to potentially pick up a pink ward apiece, but at least at this point in the game, without Diamond ganking, he's not going for it.
Genja taking a lot of damage here once again. Voidle was able to heal him up nicely from that one, but you see the Imp and Mats are starting to feel comfortable down in that bottom lane. Voidle uses Ignite earlier on, which gives the Ozone lane a 1 summoner spell advantage. Diamond is going to come into the middle. Dandy off to the side from this one as Diamond gets locked up. There's a knockup coming in on towards Alexich. Have they got the damage to finish this one off? Diamond is there going slow. There are the flashes over. Can they finish this one off? Dandy actually taking a lot of damage as well. Alex coming back in, but first blood goes down in the end to Diamond, but Alex will finish off, and it will be a 2-for-1 for Gambit. They played it so patiently and turned it around with the first blood plus the 2 kills.
And they had a level advantage going into that, so Diamond was actually landing hate spikes the entire time Ozone was chasing them in. Those are those clutch plays that can decide games, the 2v2 skirmishes where skill is such a huge impact in those matchups.
We just saw Looper actually. He's like, look at that farm in the mid lane. Let's not let that one go to waste. I'll head straight down there with my teleport.
We got like 3
and I'm just going to recall. Worth. No problem.
Yeah, that's the definition right there.
Yeah, he's headed home.
Doesn't
anyway.
even have enough for a catalyst right now. He just has to pick
they're
up
going to get
boots.
boost. That'll be enough, I think, for Looper at this
in
point.
In Looper's defense, he had some pretty good teleports in the other game.
He did.
Also, he had the lane pushed up so far for Darien, and he was already a little bit low on resources. He's not losing out on too many minions of his own for going for that one. There's actually more action in mid lane, though.
Well, Dade is dead. That's not good news for him. And we talked about Diamond and how he's going to have to get the ball rolling earlier on. We also talked about possibly dade having to pick up pink wards. Let's watch that one here again.
Listen, this is a level 6 Diamond and a level 6 Alex against a pushed up Rise without ward control. You're gonna die. You cannot make mistakes like this on this level of playing, and Gambit is going to get a Dragon out of it as well, unless Dandy can pull off a miracle 1v3 steal.
Well, he's heading in there. We see Matter is coming
Diamond
in as well.
doesn't have Smite up, actually.
No, he doesn't have Smite up here. This could actually be a little bit dangerous for them. Turns out, not dangerous at all, and Gambit are going to pick up the first Dragon of the game here, and look at that gold lead already, Jack. Solid start for Gambit.
So one thing that's interesting in all of these matchups, we've seen the games that SKT has played, and also the first game for Ozone. I don't think a Korean team has actually won an early game here yet in the World Championships, but they have come in so strong in the mid and the late game. Looper steals the blue. We talked before the game, during Champ Select, that Ozone's laning phase would not be aggressive. They would essentially be on the back foot throughout, because Rise needs to hit his items, Imp needs to be able to get his Blade of the Ruined King, and Looper has to get some levels under his belt. So it's actually about stopping the bleeding of Gambit right now. From Gambit right now, because Gambit's putting a lot of pressure on Ozone early on, and it's a matter of whether Gambit can keep that up.
One thing that's interesting, Diamond's Evelyn right now ahead healthily in CS, but also has spent a lot of time on this middle lane. And this is, it seems to us obvious now looking at this, the game plan from Gambit was get dade out of this game completely, and up until now they've done a great job of it.
As long as they can keep his farm down. That's the tricky thing about Rise, is you see them die so much, but if they're farming, it's good.
Oh, Matter!
Look at this!
Wow, that was a terrible miscalculation. Voidle threw down the Ignite there as the flash came in from Matter, and the kill picked up, and that was all just very messy coming out of Ozone.
What is happening to Ozone right now? Because with all the talk up right now, those are a couple mistakes they've made here. Dade losing himself in the mid lane, not recognizing that he was against 2 level 6s, and then in the bottom lane, Mata flashing in to not get a kill back. 3,000 gold lead already at 9 minutes for Gambit, who were the Season 2 powerhouses, and, you know, calling them a dark horse because a lot of them are predicting them for 3rd in the group is a little generous, but man, they're playing well so far.
Oh, there's Diamond meeting Dandy inside of the river, slide away as that pink ward was put down, but Gambit have got a pink ward of their own, and they control that vision a little bit longer there in that lane. Top lane, we see that Looper, despite the time that he's had here, is still behind of Darien, and this is one thing that Darien does well. He'll quite happily sit on his island in that top lane and just farm away. Got a lead there, he's happy.
And Dandy needs to make a lot of plays here to get to get Ozone back in the game. He had 90% kill participation in their win over Balkan, and he's got 100% kill participation right now. They just got to get some more kills. He needs to be able to create for them.
Well, here we see Looper stealing away Wolves at this point. He's got a couple of deep wards down there. Is the miss actually coming out from the jump? They don't care. They're going down for this one. There is Darien coming in. Misses the taunt, but he'll get the kill anyway. Now he's locked up perfectly between the turrets here fighting against Dandy.
Looper and Mata are coming in, though. This is going to be an extended fight, and Darien is in a lot of trouble.
Let's see how good Darien's ninja skills really are. He waits in from this one. Ward gets put over the side. Darien will go in, and there is Imp, and they don't want to give these kills over towards that Vayne, but Imp in the end will pick that one up. It was a 1-for-1 trade in the end. Dade it was that went down, so he's continued to be shut out of this.
Once Alex missed the charm, Gambit should have fallen back from that one. Even though they got a 1-for-1, it was killing a already behind Rise, and it gave a kill to the all-important Vayne that Imp is commanding right now. That is a good trade for Ozone, as we know they're going to be on their back foot for quite some time. They just need to hit their items, and then we're going to really start to see this game take off.
Yeah, freezing up that lane nicely here is Imp. Have a look down his items right now, upgrading to those Berserker Greaves. Got himself that Vamp Scepter in there with a single Doran's Blade as well. On the other side, Phage coming out for Genja, along with the Berserker Greaves and double Doran's Blade. 2 games that we've seen Genja, and he's not picked up more than 2 Doran's Blades. He's
well,
a new
he's
man.
Going for a Trinity Force. He's got to pick a lot of components already. Double Doran's is already a little much for someone who does Trinity Force. Most Trinity Force users just go for the 1. He's hitting pretty darn hard here right now, though, and the Phage on Kog'Maw is actually a little curious. For some reason, I thought he was on Corki all of a sudden because I saw the Phage. But maybe we could see a Trinity Force Kog'Maw coming out here. This is a little weird.
Well, if we're talking about AD carries and going a little bit weirder than the rest, Genja is possibly the prime example of that one. Meanwhile, Diamond is down on this bottom side. You see they gain that pink ward control.
Imp is low.
And Imp is in all kinds of trouble here. Stranglethorn's going to go down. Will Imp be able to escape this one? He's actually burning here as Looper comes down. There is Dandy as well. Now it's Genja that's in trouble. He will fall. There's a kill onto Voidle. And now Diamond trying to get away. Flashes out of the Cataclysm, but Looper is charging in after him, decides not to keep going with that one with Alex coming down, and in the end, it'll be a 2-for-0 for Ozone.
Brilliant bait right there by the Ozone bottom lane. Imp moving so well to escape that one. That was just total domination and outplay, getting the teleport to come in after Gambit had fully committed to that fight. And Darien had his wave pushed so far back that he's still struggling to get some damage down.
Yeah, only just got onto that turret to start getting things going. Got it down to less than half at this point, but Looper is already well on his way back towards that outer turret, and I don't think that Darien not going to be able to finish that one off with this wave. I say that, and Looper's headed straight towards those minions, and Darien, a man who's definitely not scared. We've seen that many a time from him in the European LCS and in previous other events as well, that he will quite happily stand on that turret and risk his life a couple of times. Let's call it that.
Yeah, he doesn't mind dying as long as it's better for the team, or even if he's already died a lot, then he's just willing to die a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think Gambit here does need to be very cautious about the potential of Ozone's team composition as far as just overall scaling goes, because while Gambit has loaded in a bit more sustained damage, there's still a little bit up front, especially from Alex Ichizari. It's going to be hard for him to be effective later on in the game if Looper and Dade get too much farm. So far, Gambit's done a very good job keeping Dade down, but Looper and Imp are getting going a little bit. And Alex can really only pick one as far as what he's going to kill, and knowing how elusive Imp is, life actually could become fairly difficult for Gambit despite this large early game advantage they seem to have been building up.
And a lot of teams that we've seen today playing against the Koreans have had early game advantages, only to see it slip away from them. These are teams that you have to not only kind of beat down early, but you have to make sure you tread them into the ground afterwards, because they will rise up and take you straight back down with them. There's Darien and Looper once again bashing heads basically up in this top lane. They're very even on CS and in terms of kills and deaths right now. Genja in this bottom lane has still that lead over him, but that kill earlier on, you can see, leaves them very, very even overall in gold. There's about 70 difference
between them. It's a couple creeps at the very most, and that's actually exactly where Imp wants to be, at least in the laning phase, because he knows how potent he can be in team fights. Diamond looking to stop this as well, though. They know Looper does not have his teleport up, and that would be a very bold dive since they have not even gotten harassed down onto Imp or Mata. There is a flash up for Voidle if he wanted to go for a flash crescendo. This is a very interesting thing. Diamond is still sticking around. If they get the fourth in for Alex, though, without counterattacks coming, it would be good. Diamond gets spotted.
Yep, spotted there by that pink ward. Actually, he's going to go in here on towards Mata. Are they going to be able to get Shen involved in this one? Stan United coming down. Stranglethorns will stop it, but here comes Alex from the side. Mata blown to pieces, and Gambit forced them away. Should be able to get that turret here. Actually, the mini-wave actually pushing back against them. However, Dragon is available. Meantime, Looper is taking the top turret.
5-man squad for Gambit only results in 1 kill, and this isn't even really an objective gain because they lost one as well in the top lane. If they give too much lane control to Looper Singed, second game he's pretty much ever played on a big stage, and he's playing fantastically once again. It was a nice idea from Gambit, but they almost overcommitted, giving Looper a bit too much time to farm. The Shen ult was unnecessary.
Yeah, and we can see earlier on we were talking about Darien versus Looper, how even it was in terms of creeps, despite them bashing heads and constant aggression against each other in that lane. It's actually really excelling now for Looper, up 140 to 116 CS. See if Darien here, with a couple of waves being pushed against his inner turret by now, whether he'll get himself back up to standards with that one. On the other side of things, we could probably check in with the items between the AD carries here once again. Genja picking up that Zeal, headed up towards that Trinity Force.
That is going to be a Trinity Force Kog'Maw. You can make the argument that he needs the move speed to keep up with Vayne or to kite back Shen, and also the fact that Kog'Maw can actually get in Trinity Force procs whenever he wants, as long as he's using his living artillery during team fights. it could work. I'm not calling it out right here because Genja has been known to find some brilliant builds in the past.
He also built tier on Varus.
That was not as brilliant, but this one has potential.
This one has potential, and we're not going to judge it before we've seen the end result. We saw Dandy there in that top side of the brush here, and won't take much really for him to be spotted, but he's still there.
There is Flash and Barrier up on Genja and Voidle, though. Plus, if Diamond gets around, he's going to have that Eve ultimate up in time. Dandy, even though he's still got that 100% kill participation, has been spending a lot of time waiting around in this game.
And he's still waiting around here on the bottom. Diamond actually backed away. Is now coming back just in time as Dandy actually backs away from that one as well. So kind of exchange of positions in this one. Diamond is still on that bottom side of the map doing his golems. Dandy backing away now. Actually went over a ward there earlier on, which is why I didn't even spot that in the Tribush. That was there earlier from Diamond.
And Looper wants to make another play here in the bottom lane. This could be the counter gank because Darien does not even have Stand United up yet, and Diamond is going to be looking to get aggressive, seeing as he's been waiting around for so long and kind of hunting. Looper could come and just ruin Gambit's day if things go wrong.
We have Dandy waiting off to the side. Diamond actually going to spot him here, and that's a crucial bit of vision that they've picked up. The blue buff is actually available. We'll see if they try and invade for this one. Alex had started to move around from that middle. This outer top turret is still alive, despite all that free time that Darien's had in there. Let's not forget it was pushed up to pretty much his inner turret by the time Looper went down towards that bottom lane. That will finally get finished off here. First turret of the game for Gambit.
These guys are trading a lot back and forth, and still a 4,000 gold lead is nothing to laugh at here from Gambit. Ozone came down from a similar gold deficit against Vulcan already today, 2 games ago in the group stage, so we cannot count them out here. Kind of checking in with dade's rise. He's actually only 10 minion kills behind Alex, despite getting obliterated in the laning phase. If you're not shutting down Rise's minion farming and tier stacking, he is still going to be a potent damage dealer in the upcoming team fight. So Ozone is still sticking around in this one. And I always say, you know, the mark of a good team are ones that know how to come back from deficits. Obviously, it's nice to not get deficits in the first place, but playing League of Legends, that's going to happen from time to time. And every game so far today in the World Championships, the Korean teams have fallen behind early. OMG was able to close out SK Telecom, but other than that, Ozone came back in the first one, and they're going to have to do it again.
Well, interested to see how Alex's impact will really sway this game here as well. That DFG now in there and finished, but he's been relatively quiet, trying to sneak down towards this bottom lane a couple of times. Didn't really get the free time to do that one, and has not been able to get in there on towards dade either for a 1 versus 1 kill. So he's been relatively quiet from that one. It's not obviously going to stay that way. This game kind of quick at the start, a little bit slower as the last few minutes have ticked away, but at some point this one's going to explode.
Gambit has been doing a phenomenal job just keeping up right now. Alex with his Deathfire Grasp, even with the defensive build from dade, but Voidle can't get caught like that. Here's a fight.
Got the crescendo down from this one. Stranglethorn's coming in. Voidle going so very, very low. Looper has teleported down as well, but look at him taking so much damage. We'll have to use the barrier. Cataclysm goes down. Darien going to charge on through. Here comes Diamond and Genja. They've managed to get the slowdown. Looper charging on the way back towards his turret with that ultimate, and his ghost running, and now Alex moving in. Misses the charm. That's not going to allow him to lock up the rise, but a 2-for-1. Brilliant turnaround from Gambit.
Getting the teleport out and then still coming out on top. That fight was all about Darien closing onto Imp. Imp tried to make his textbook escape, but barely Darien was able to track him down. Gambit roamed with Ozone and came out on top.
This is going to be turret number 2 here for Gambit going down in that bottom lane. 20 minutes, 50 seconds on the clock. And a 6,000 gold lead coming down now for Gambit as well. Looking very, very promising for them as Alex here going to get engaged upon by dade. Look how low it's taking him. Alex forced to use his ultimate to get away from that one.
I really have to give credit to dade for the pick of Rise, not necessarily his early execution of Rise. Oh, look out, Darien.
Oh, stunned over the wall, stunned against the wall there. Actually, Imp, nothing that he's got there to follow up. Obviously, used that flash earlier on. Darien lives.
The timing of that, though, was exceptional for Ozone because they know there's no Darien in this potential Dragon fight. There's also no Crescendo for Voidle. If Gambit wanted to contest it, it is extremely dangerous. I think Gambit should just go for a lane, but they're actually pinging. Diamond wants to try and steal this.
Diamond coming around, actually getting rid of that pink ward there. That might allow them to force some pressure as Ozone start to engage. Dade is a little bit isolated and he's forced to flash back to the safety of his team. Funnily enough, though, it bought Ozone enough time to pick up Dragon.
All right, so they're trying to get some objectives back, but since they actually took a lot of damage in that fight and now the Shen is returned, Gambit could just get a turret right for this one.
Yeah,
maybe more.
Maybe more here. They've got complete positional advantage. See Danny just sliding on through to get behind that turret to defend it, but where's the rest of the team? They need someone in. Loopers off to the side.
Ozone might look to fight this one as the turret's going very low. Gambit initiate!
There is a throw of Alex back in. He will just spirit rush straight back out as a Crescendo comes down. Looper though, Dandy's already dead. Taunt from Darien. They're not finished. Matter, he's going to get finished off. It's now Imp and Dade to save this fight for them. Diamond comes around the side. Imp still charging on down onto him. Is he able to get him? Yes, they were able to finish off in the end. That was a passing of Zyra actually that got the kill. But that will be a 3-for-1 and 2 middle turrets.
And you were right, Joe. This game is speeding up. Dragon right into 2 turrets and a big team fight. Imp trying to get some sneaky moves going on, but Genja and Darien are there to stop him. That last fight was really just Ozone almost trying to put up a bit of a last stand. This is becoming a 7,000 gold lead now, and unless Ozone starts taking some significant risks, they're going to lose out in the overall gold game and just lose their ability to hold out.
And Gambit are not generally a team that throw away leads. We'll discount the game against CLGU back in the day because that's a different story altogether. But generally when this team gets ahead, they're able to hold it. They know how to win games a lot of the time without even taking Baron. I'm not sure that this will quite be that kind of cutthroat finish game that they're looking for. But if we look down the items, we see they have so much burst potential with both Diamond and Alex carrying DFGs now.
And that is actually Diamond's textbook or signature Eve build. So many other Eves will just stack the magic penetration, but Diamond loves to go for that Deathfire Grasp just to amp his ultimate even more as he's trying to initiate these fights. Gambit may actually have some issues actually turret diving on top of Ozone just because the Zyra exists for one, and because their main initiator, who is Diamond, might catch turret aggro in a bad place. There's also a lot of things that can just mess up their dive when you consider the Shen and the Cataclysm that could be coming out from Ozone. So despite this 7,000 gold lead, Gambit is definitely not clear sailing for this game.
Certainly not. And a team like Ozone are a team that will capitalize on any little mistake that Gambit put down in this one. We're 25 minutes into this game already, and again we're moving to somewhat of a slower phase after an incredibly successful push up that middle lane coming out of Gambit to really build that lead out. 7,000 gold is currently the lead that they're sitting on. 4-1 in turrets, 11-6 in kills, and if we look at the kills, to just touch on them, spread perfectly through the team.
Yeah, the only thing, you know, they really couldn't ask for more, actually. Because I'm thinking about the things they need to be able to do against a team with the tankiness of Shen and Ryze and late-game team fights. And everyone actually needs to kind of be able to hold their own if you're Gambit Gaming right now. It's just, it's working out masterfully for them right now. Genja, his Trinity Force build, still being weird, going Infinity Edge afterwards. He's also picked up his Distortion Boots. He's really just going for that extra bit of mobility and does not want to get caught in a bad spot by either Jarvan, Singed, or Ryze. That's what he needs to do on Kog'Maw, because he'll get to the damage just because he's Kog'Maw. The item build doesn't matter as much as he thinks.
Do they dare start off Baron? They've got vision control of that top side of the Ozone jungle, but do they dare start it off at this point? There is the burst coming down on towards Matter. Stan United going to get involved. Are they going to go for this one? They're managing to force them away. They are going to go for the fight. Crescendo comes through. Darien knocked up by the Stranglethorns as Looper gets involved as well. But look at Ozone. They're one by one being taken down. Imp got into the middle of them. They need to lock him out of this one. He will be finished off. It's Genja that picks that one up. It's a 4-for-2. Can Dade escape from this? He gets taunted up. Flashes towards the back to Genja. but he goes down.
ace.
It's a triple kill and an ace for Gambit.
And Genja is just locking on to whatever is closest and destroying it. He is shredding through Ozone right now. That was a fight initiated by Alex and then re-initiated by Diamond. Gambit, that boot camp is paying off for them right now. They are in control of this game.
Well, did we ever doubt it? Let's have a look at that fight another time, because it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the thing that made Ozone want to stay in on this one is the quality of the Mata ultimate right there that he put down. It actually delayed the team fight and allowed Imp to go in pretty strongly, but he couldn't get the finish. You can see Imp moves around team fights so well, but the rest of Ozone was trapped in the back, getting shredded by Genja's Kog'Maw, and it just did not allow Imp to be finished off here. Dade tried to make a big play at the end, getting AoE with his rise, but Genja and the rest of Gambit had too much lockdown, too much damage, and let's be honest, that was a 3v1.
Yeah, definitely. If you look down the kills he wants, again,
that
actually
one
not. Alex there getting in. That's what he was aiming to do last time, 100-0. This time it works out very, very nicely for him. That gives us a 5v4 at this very moment, but we can see that Ozone trying to push this mid lane out. They don't want Gambit having an easy time of either the Dragon or the Baron at this point.
And Alex actually had to flash away after he picked up that kill on Mata. I almost have to say that picking up a 6th kill on an already 1-in-5 support in expense for your 7-and-1 AP carry assassin mids, ultimate and flash isn't necessarily worth it. I think Gambit could have gotten this Dragon regardless of the assassination onto Mata, and it does mean that Gambit needs to be a little bit cautious about the way they approach these things. Only because Imp on Vayne, Dade on Rise, and just the amazing scaling that Ozone has means Gambit still needs to pick their fights properly. They can't get too antsy, and they can't get too anxious about going in, because one tower dive gone wrong, especially with the kill streaks that so many people on Gambit have picked up, would swing back that goal beat tremendously.
So here we go then. Baron started off. Singe is down the bottom here, but Lupa does have teleport, so he can get involved here if he so wishes, if they even realize that Gambit are going to be doing this one. They've not seen them for such a long time. They must feel that something like this is going to be happening, but they're not really in a position to challenge for that whatsoever. We see both Imp and Mata going back. Lupa is going to be taking down the outer turret in the bottom lane, but Gambit with a solid pickup of Baron. They're now over 10,000 gold.
And the Baron buff means they're going to be looking to push the outer turrets in the top and the bottom lane, or just go straight for the inhibitor in the middle of Ozone's base right here. And that Baron was really just the summation of all the pressure Gambit has been putting on Ozone. It had a lot to do with ward control, or mainly just map presence for Gambit. I know I said it wasn't worth it to kill Mata that one time, but he's the one who kind of had to go in and get that vision back. And since they had no vision, and they'd been punished so many times for trying to get vision back, Ozone essentially had to give up and just concede that portion of the map, which happened to contain Baron, and allowed Gambit to take it uncontested.
So let's see what Ozone do to try and work their way back into this one. We've seen constant push and pressure from Lupa in his outer lanes, trying to force Gambit away from really doing anything on their side of things. And we see that once again headed off towards that bottom side of the map by the Dragon, just going to stick himself a pink ward down in that scenario. But Gambit, with that Baron buff running, they're not a team that mess around when they've got something like that.
And Looper can no longer be that surprise factor in the long, drawn-out team fights, because Ozone is actually getting bursted down a little too fast. Genja, with his Kog'Maw, is shredding through the tanks of Samsung Galaxy Ozone, and Diamond is just starting it off for him, getting every 1% health lowered right at the start. These team fights are not working out the way Ozone wanted them to, or the way they played out for Ozone against Vulcan. Enough damage, persistent damage, was taken by Gambit in this game that they're able to crush down Singed and Rise before they can really become a problem.
Look at Darien as well. Warmog's now added in there to that Sunfire Cape and the Spirit Visage from earlier. He is not scared of dying now. I mean, he never really is anyway. Doesn't matter what items he's got, but at this point, he's probably feeling like he's on top of the world, and they may come in.
Yeah, Diamond is looking to go in the back here. This is the danger turret, I like to call it. This is the turret where teams get aced, but Gambit says, yeah, we don't need that. We're going for the middle inhibitor.
This is something they do really well, and we've already seen it from them earlier when they took 2 turrets in that mid lane. This one gives them a third. Just a simple positional play there, catching Ozone out, and Darien is looking like he wants to go for a taunt.
This is a very curious fight right now because while if they catch a charm, they can burst out any member of Ozone. Ozone could fall back to the double Nexus turrets, and it could be a dangerous dive. There are so many free treats outside of that spot for Gambit right now. They're just going to go and take those. This outer turret is one of them.
And setting up a bit of a trap while they're at it. They've got Genja and Darien pushing the turret himself. 3 of them actually hanging around here between mid and the middle lane there as Dade. Is he going to go down from this one? He is absolutely destroyed. Stan United comes in. Imp is down to less than half HP. He needs to stay alive here, but he's not going to stay alive. Darien will take him out. Looper in the middle of them. There is Genja flashing in. He's going to go now on towards Mata. Surely be able to finish him off from this one as well. He's close to getting away. Roots him underneath the turret. Looper died in the end as well, and it's now only Mata to save Ozone here from a Gambit defeat.
And Joe, this looks like a landslide victory for Gambit. They never let Ozone back in, and there is the surrender.
Surrender, brilliant victory here from Gambit. A well-deserved, thoroughly deserved victory, I'm going to say there, because what a performance coming out. We wondered which Gambit were going to turn up here to the World Championships because, my gosh, we've seen quite a few different variations of them throughout this last summer split. But this was world-beating, top-quality Gambit gaming right here.
Yeah, and this is a message to the rest of their group right now because Ozone beat Vulcan, the team that had beat Fnatic, badly. And then Gambit just crushed them. Everyone coming into this tournament just expected Ozone to dominate. Gambit had other ideas, as they always do, and that was such an impressive victory. They knew that they had to finish it early. They never let Ozone's weak laning phase transition into the game, which is something that has been happening so well for Ozone, and Gambit really earned that one from start to finish.
And that really opens up Group B now as well. I mean, these were the 2 teams, obviously, that were sat at 1-0, but with Gambit taking that win, Fnatic obviously picking up their last win against Mineski, with so many games still left to be played, and if it wasn't already difficult to call, it's certainly just impossible now.
And I just can't believe, exactly, it's impossible to call right now. Analyst desk, good luck, right? Because we have right now Ozone 1-1. Group A, SK Telecom, also 1-1. The 2-0 teams in the group are now OMG and Gambit. It is just wide open for the rest of this group stage. It's great that we have the double round robin because I cannot wait for these teams to play again.
I wish we could have had triple round robin. That's how good
Quadruple.
this is. Let's just keep going forever until we find a champion here in Season 3. Guys, we're going to take a last break here, but when we return, we'll dissect the biggest plays from Gambit's brilliant victory. Plus, we'll break down tomorrow's games and update the standings for you. So don't go anywhere. The Season 3 World Championship will be right back.